Greetings everyone. So today I'm going to be doing a review of Timular. It's a productivity app that I've been really liking lately to basically keep track of my actions throughout the day. So I have on my screen basically what it looks like on the PC and on an app. So I'll go over the PC version quick. So here I took a sample of November 12th through November 17th as a kind of a show of what you collect. And basically on Timular, you can basically track a few different activities that you set up. So here you can see the different ones I have put into the device, including blogging, clinic work, email, work I do for through school, meetings, podcasting, etc. And then these are things you can actually assign to a device to put on your desk to keep track in real time. And what it looks like though is when you do these things, you basically, when you want to assign an activity, you would click on whatever you want to. So for instance, I go in here and I could choose, let's say right now, because I'm kind of making something, this is part of my blogging. So you hit blog, you'll see that starts, and let's go on here and I could type down, let's say, review Timular. And then it'll keep a note, it'll keep a time entry, and then it'll be recorded here. In terms of what that would look like throughout the week, I'll jump back here to the November timeline. And here's some examples. So if I was to look at like this kind of day, like the 8th, I have 7 hours and 23 minutes are logged. And on that, just I can see email, work I did, meetings I had, writing, things like that. And this is how basically you keep a record, and then you can look through. Let's suppose I was to click up here. I can look at the ranges for it and such. And here, if I went under, I could see what happened at each of those points. So you can see in like this time period between the 12th and 17th, I clocked in 41 hours about. And this is what's all broken up into. So you can see how many times I checked email, how many times I worked on blogging. I can see what I was reading. So at this time period, I was reading the AMA playbook and digital health playbook, which I thought was really interesting. Amount of time I was spent teaching. That week I spent, I was helping evolve the ethics facilitation of pharmacogenomics. And then if I was to launch the app, let's see it over here. It's basically the same thing. So right now you can see it's synced up, so you can see them clocking in this blogging experience, and if I click through the different functions at the bottom, it is basically the same thing. So very much similar between the app and what's on the desktop, and it looks very similar, as you can see. So where does this information go? Well, you can use it different ways. So you can actually export it, and if you export it, it'll look like this. You'll generate a Excel file report, and in this case, I'll get rid of this real quick. So in this case, you can see it'll give all the different time periods and such that I did things, and this might be useful for someone who wants to keep like a yearly report and go back and look at it, and you can like tag things, and you can say who it was involved with. That's kind of a neat feature. So if you're into like tagging, like saying like you can see here I put down a tag for grading, so you can see the grading grad posters. If you're into that kind of stuff, it's useful in that regard. And if you want, you can also tie it into your iCal and have like a different export into there. So that's kind of cool from that perspective. And you know, for me, how I use my calendar tends to be, I put down different items around doing throughout the day or a little task, and then also you can see here was the ethics classroom breakout, and here's teaching that clocked in on my Timular. Here you can see meetings when I was having them with different people. So it's kind of cool from that perspective. But one thing that really is interesting about Timular is the fact that it also hooks up with this desktop kind of peripheral. So if we looked at it, this is what it looks like. So this is the little block. And as you can see, you can actually go through and give it different things. So like, it has this little browsing base you put in, so when it stands upright, it doesn't do anything. But if I were to put down work, and what is happening, you see it'll switch over to work. So I go back to my Timular device, click on here. You see right now it's thinking that I'm working, which this might be useful if you stay in like an office or a space like that all the time. So you can switch to different things. Like here's like freelance right now. You can see it's tracking everything, blogging, writing. And why would you want this thing? I think it's kind of cool because if you think about it, this is kind of a cool tool that if you're always at a central desk location, that is suppose, I'm busy working and running and then like, okay, now I gotta check email. Okay, well, I can see that I'm doing email now, and then let's suppose that I got to I have a meeting now. So it's meeting time, so I'm on a phone call. And this may be really great for people who have things that they do throughout the day. And why it might matter is that, let's suppose you go back and you look at your calendar and you say, wow, where am I wasting my time in terms of like from a productivity standpoint? What am I doing good? What am I doing bad? How much do I truly spend on certain activities and how much do I bounce around throughout the day? So this may be great from that standpoint. So if I put it back in space, it's going to turn off now. And that's basically it. So this is Timular, and this is how I've been using it in terms of basically using the app and using the computer Timular application to keep track of the work. And when I'm at home, I do use this thing, but I actually find most of the time it's sitting off a corner, and that when I want to use it, then I'll take it out and start using it. Otherwise, when I'm going about my normal day, I'm actually using a lot of the time the app on my smartphone, and then when I'm working on my computer, I'm using the application on my computer. So, I mean, it's quite fascinating from that standpoint. So, how you want to use it as multiple different ways to use it. I think that's why I love it so much at this current time, because when you get right down to it, I think the big problem for me whenever I was time tracking was the fact that there was different ways for me to use a time tracker, and usually it was just app based. And at the end of the day, I found that to be kind of a limitation in terms of what I want to focus on, because you might have to buy an app for the computer and you might have to buy an app for the smartphone in order to use it, and that's really a lot of money you're dropping on things, I would say, and just trying to link things up. And this thing's pretty synchronous, as you can see when I was showing the what was screencast from my phone and here. So I love it from that standpoint because you have 3 different means of tracking time, and it works throughout whichever kind of workflow that you really adapt to you. And I love the different reports I can have. The fact that I can go back here and at the end of the week and see, what did I do? How much did I do different things? What did I accomplish? It also gives you, what's kind of cool here is number of entries, average start time, average time you ended, how many hours or how much time you log per entry. So it kind of gives you kind of a little productivity report. And I think it's pretty cool. I really do enjoy it. And they do send you monthly and weekly reports saying how well you did. And they kind of give you a percentage like, oh, you're like this good with your productivity, or you could be better. And I think that kind of feedback works pretty well. Now, they are working a little bit more on that. So I'm hoping that that kind of output will help me eventually. But for now, one thing I've noticed is that tracking email really kind of helped me understand how much time I was putting throughout the week there and when I was doing it. So the one thing I got from Timular was the fact that I really check email sporadically, so I try to be limiting it towards time periods throughout the day that I would just dedicate towards email. And that's really one of the best things I think I've found from this device. And for me as an academic, one of the best things is I can track what I do throughout the year for my annual reports, and when I talk to my chair or my dean about what I'm working on, I can have it there. I can go back and see, how much time I spend writing throughout the year. So 1 week, if I'm clocking 4 hours, and I say that scholarship eats up, let's say, about 30% of my time, is then actually 30% of my time, and here it's only 11% of my time. So I think that's really kind of interesting to take away. The other thing is just how many meetings occur. So I've been using this since, I want to say, September of last year. And if I look at this, and let me just close up all these things. Just in 3 months, I can see how much time I put into different projects. And if I go on scholarship, 8% email, 8% about how much I spent on clinic, about 11% work, 32%, which makes sense. Meetings, 20% of my time throughout what I do is all about meetings. And the reality is teaching is pretty low here because this past semester teaching is probably my lowest amount of time. So take that for what it is. It'll probably go up in the spring when I teach more, and summer when I teach a lot more. But in the end, this is Tyler, so welcome any comments or thoughts. If you have questions, feel free. I'll try to answer them. So in any event, take care and have a good day.